Good evening, my brothers. Hey, I wanted to just take a few minutes to talk with you about some questions that we've had regarding the Exodus coming up. We're just a few days from beginning. I hope you're getting excited for it. I know that I am. Um, and I just wanted to maybe share a few words to kind of set a tone and maybe differentiate this Exodus a little bit from the ones that we've run in the past. This is the third Exodus that we've run now as a fraternity with the Soldiers of St. Michael since their inception. And I think every time we get it a little better and we do it a little better and we learn some things from the time we've done it before. We've certainly got a great group of veterans running again with us, guys that are in their second, third, or even fourth time. So we ought to know what we're doing by now, right? Well, I think we're getting there. So I guess to get right to what it is that I would like us to focus on this year and what I would like to differentiate ourselves from a little bit from some of the aspects of our past Exoduses. I know that the men in this fraternity take the Exodus very seriously, and I do too, and I appreciate that. I wouldn't take it any other way. I think if you're not willing to honestly fully commit to the Exodus and all that it entails, you're wasting your time. Because you're going to get what you put into it. That's, however much you invest into this spiritual exercise is exactly how much you're going to receive back from it. So you can take it as seriously as you want. But certainly we are best served by being as diligent as we can and trying to adhere as closely as we can to the protocol of the program. Now, that's never been in question. I think if you ask any of my guys, they would say that I'm a pretty hard stickler for the rules. And I feel like that's important because it gives us a tradition. It gives us a standardized protocol. It's not in the hands of any one person. It's not my program. It's not the Soldiers of St. Michael program. This is Exodus 90. They're an incredible ministry. They have a lot of clerical support. They've got an incredible new spiritual director working with them. The guys that are in this ministry that create the Exodus 90 content are so devoted to what they do. They really are living the lifestyle that they're creating and that they're promoting for men here. And it shows. It shows ultimately in the quality of how the entire program and all of the material and the support around it continue to improve. We also, in our way that we approach the Exodus, I think can continue to improve. As our own culture within the Soldiers of St. Michael, having done this a few times, having had a lot of veterans that have done it multiple times, what can we learn? How should we be assisting the new men who are coming in, who have not had the opportunity to go through this experience before? In the past, because we take this as seriously as we do, we've come up with some great conversations about rules and restrictions and asceticisms. And I don't think that anyone is trying to find a way to avoid the challenge, but I think that we just naturally look for loopholes in a system. And so we tend to get very meticulous about the guidelines. And question, where there's any kind of wiggle room, perhaps, right? Or where there are corners that can be cut. And I think that's a pretty natural reaction when you're looking at a very robust and detailed program, right? That you're first getting into. You're saying, okay, well, where are the parameters? You're going to test the boundaries of whatever it is that you're working on. And that's all well and fine and good, but the issue is that we can get too caught up in that and that we can find ourselves having heated discussions about, whether sparkling water counts as a sweet drink or a soda, or whether jam counts as a sweet if you put it into a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Can we, imbibe ice cream on a day when we're allowed sweet drinks, but not desserts if it's melted and we drink it? Man, I've heard some of the best, some most creative questions come up from my guys, and I love it. I will absolutely entertain any one of them. But I want to be sure that ultimately we're not getting too into the weeds. And that we're not getting too scrupulous about what it is that we're doing, and maybe, you know, missing the point a little bit, missing that forest for those trees there a little bit. You know, what I really want to focus on a lot this year is on building sustainable habits, right? That ultimately is one of the points of the Exodus, is to guide you in forming positive habits that you are going to build and strengthen over the course of this 90 days, and then ultimately be able to continue those, right? And you know, I've certainly seen for both myself and other men a wide range of success in attempting to do that. You know, every man comes to the Exodus in a different place. I've seen so many men go through this at this point and gotten to know so many of these brothers that you can see how the Exodus is very unique for every man, even though it is a standardized program, right? It is this kind of set protocol that we all adhere to. It's going to be uniquely challenging for every man. It's going to be uniquely taxing in certain ways for different guys. And that's good. Ultimately, that's to teach us, right, what it is that we need to work on, where our weak points are, where the cracks in the armor lie. And that's part of the kind of the refining process that we go through with Exodus. But sometimes also, you know, Exodus can be a lot. It can be a very intense practice to take on. And really, I guess I've just had this growing appreciation of how very demanding of a spiritual exercise it is, and how if you are in a position where you are not used to already incorporating at least some of this stuff into your life, it's going to be very wildly, intensely changing all at one time. And that can be very hard to sustain. It can be even hard to sustain for 90 days, let alone we're talking about the after Exodus 90, sustaining this for a lifelong continuation of just this Christian life with all these fantastic practices and devotions and our prayer lives that we've taken up during Exodus. We just want to continue that, right? Well, I mean, there are guys that can't make it through 90 days. They can't get those good habits ingrained, right? Why? Maybe in part because it's too much. It's so much at once. And a lot of guys are able to manage that, again, depending on where they are. And there's no shame in any of this, right? If you already have a great prayer life and you already have a strict prayer regimen, well, then that's going to be a super benefit for you moving into Exodus, right? You've already got that covered. I would say that's one of the greatest challenges to establish for a man if he doesn't already do that, right? If you're already working out several days a week and just physical exercise is part of your lifestyle, then that's not a big deal, right? For somebody who has been sedentary or just has not had any kind of active exercise routine or program or anything for months, years, I mean, for untold amount of time, that's a huge undertaking, and it's hard to even know where to start with that. So you've got a guy, maybe he's not praying, he's not working out, he barely just learned what asceticism means, and this guy wants to know and come to be better acquainted with his Lord, right? He has the best of intentions like any of our other men, but this program is going to be more challenging for him, right? And it may be too challenging initially to where he's going to just hit this super hard for like a month, and then you kind of see that that burnout, that fizzle start to happen even around that day, I don't know, 45 or so. A lot of you guys that have done Exodus have experienced this. So how do we meet men where they are? How do we continue to customize the program while maintaining the coherency of the protocol, right? We've had some discussions about possibly offering some kind of like an Exodus Lite, right? An entry level version that, maybe didn't have all the asceticisms and or maybe you got to pick and choose which ones you wanted to do. And ultimately in talking with the Exodus guys and talking with our guys and just thinking about this and praying about it a lot, I don't feel like that's the best approach to this. The coherency of the program needs to continue and be consistent, right? There's not going to be any prescribed way that you can, cut something out of this. But what we need to be able to have the conversation is, how do we approach some of these things maybe in a way that is more sustainable and in a way that's going to grow ultimately to the higher expectations that we'd like to have, but maybe we're just not quite ready for yet. And so this is where we need to look at, okay, just like if we were coming into the gym, right? We don't jump right away to the 400-pound squat, okay? We're going to work our way up to that gradually. We're going to increase rate over a period of time. We're going to do the same thing with some of the disciplines of Exodus if needs be, right? If you can't sit down and knock out an hour of prayer, that's not something you've done. It's not something you're prepared to do. That's okay, right? Don't get frustrated because you can't immediately do that. What you need to do is start off with some prayer, just like any prayer. Start off with 5 minutes of prayer. You know, the minimum requirement for Exodus, like as a protocol, is that 20 minutes of contemplative prayer, right? We're shooting for a holy hour, for an hour every day, but we're trying to at least break out that 20 minutes for one solid, deep, contemplative run. And that can be very challenging, but sometimes we need to build up to that. So we're going to work directly, and we're going to have an even higher level of accountability this year than we've had in the past, okay? Here's how that's going to look. We run a big fraternity, guys. We run one of the biggest fraternities that I know of in the world. Okay, so we are running such a large group that it's even beyond what Exodus generally encourages guys to run at. The prescribed number of guys in a fraternity, I believe, is 5 to 7 ideally, and usually they recommend under 10, right? And there's normal, reasons for that, right? Some of which are just logistical. It takes longer for every guy to share in a meeting, and certainly you guys who have been in some of our meetings know that when we really open up the floor and guys start sharing, and you've got 20 plus dudes who need to share what's on their heart. That could take a minute, and it's good and it needs to be done, but also, right, leads to longer meetings. So what we're going to be doing, and I've had a lot of the brothers ask me to do this, so we are going to be breaking down this Exodus into smaller subgroups. We're still going to run as one large fraternity, right? We are still soldiers of St. Michael. But when we have our meetings, we're going to break down into smaller, we're going to call them, battle squads. I don't know, some kind of, basically a group of, say, 5, right? We're going to pare down into these sub-fraternities that you're going to have these 5 guys. And along with your anchor, these 5 guys are going to be the ones that are going to be on top of you, holding you accountable. You're going to meet with them specifically every meeting. You're not going to switch up and randomly meet with some different guys every meeting. It's going to be the same guys. And these guys are going to be the ones who are going to help you to develop the custom program that you need to move through Exodus successfully. So those first weeks when you come in, you say, guys, hey, yeah, so here's where I'm at. I'm getting in 10 minutes of prayer, and I'm going to work on increasing that. Great, awesome. Next week when you come in, your brothers want to hear how you're doing to increase that, right? And if you have, and now you're doing 15 minutes a day, and you're finding out something that's working for you better, and you're trying different things, right? Then great, then you're making progress. But sometimes when we have a large group, it can be easy for guys to kind of slip through the cracks or just not have as much accountability as maybe they need, right? And accountability is ultimately support, right? This is not criticism. This is not negativity. This is not judgment, right? This is support. These are guys that are cheering for you, guys that are praying for you, guys that are there to say, okay, hey, where are you at? Let's get you where you want to be, right? These are mentors. These are peers. These are your brothers in arms, right? And we're all out here training together. Nobody's better than anybody else. And we're all here to assist each other in this ascension, in this rise towards sainthood, right? So we're going to allow some room for this, right? We're not going to say, hey, if you're not just doing the 100% of this program right out of the gate, you ain't doing it, okay? Well, we're going to work with you to custom tailor what it is you can do. Now, that's not an opportunity or an excuse to slack off or cut corners, right? That's not to say, well, I don't feel like I can take cold showers because they suck, and so maybe I just take one lukewarm one a week or something. Like, all right, well, no, let's be reasonable, okay? There is a certain expectation, right, of challenge, right? Because if it's not challenging, it's kind of not, you're kind of not doing it right. Right? What's the point of this then? If you wanted this to be easy, then why are you doing Exodus, right? This is not the easy path. Gentlemen, this is the hard thing. We're doing the hard thing here, and ultimately the hard thing always leads to the better reward. What thing have you ever done that was truly incredible in your life, that you were proud of, that you stood as a example of accomplishment for you, that was easy, right? Nothing. It's always the challenging thing. It's always the harder thing that we embrace and that we grow the most through. So that's what we're doing here, right? We're going to go hard. We're going to embrace all these monastic practices, but we're also going to have compassion for ourselves, and we're not going to be stupid about it. Guys, again, it would be stupid for you to walk into the gym and throw yourself under a 400-pound squat if you weren't prepared to do that. No one would look at you with any kind of like, oh, well, at least he gave it a good shot, right? If you were not prepared for that and you wrecked on that lift, that would be dumb. No one would expect you to do that, right? People would expect you to build and grow towards that in a reasonable and responsible way. That's all any of us can do. And that's what we do in the spiritual life as well, right? So we're going to work towards these goals. We're going to gradually and progressively overload our spiritual load that we take on during the day, our spiritual protocols that we're taking on throughout Exodus. And hopefully by the end of Exodus, we have built up these solid, rock hard foundations, right? Where we actually really have these good daily practices ingrained into ourselves, and we've grown to them in a sustainable way, and so that now hopefully we can continue on with some level of that same level of discipline and asceticism in our lives. Guys, here's part of what I really want us to focus on this year. Thank you for listening. I got some other thoughts for you, but we'll get to those in another video. God bless.